Now, I've already made 2 videos solely focused on Kai Havertz on this channel. The signing of him and the improvements under Arteta were those topics. In my first video about him, I said how despite all the hate he was getting at the time and his slow start for Arsenal, I actually thought he was a pretty good signing, and that if Arteta somehow could find a role for him, well then he would flourish despite all the hate he was getting at the time. And my second video was right after he scored the winner against Brentford, and there I said that he has shown promising signs but still has a long way to go and needs to up his confidence. So despite all the praise I gave Kai Havertz and all the optimism I had for him as a signing, I think it's safe to say that not only soon after signing, in less than a year he has gone from a laughingstock at a piss-poor Chelsea team to being one of the best players in a team competing for the title. Kai Havertz has succeeded in everything I expected from him, and we are right now seeing the best version of Kai Havertz, even better than his Leverkusen days. But how did Arteta unlock this out of him? And just what makes the £60 million signing so good and actually make the price tag look pretty cheap? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Gunner Central here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Now, when we bought Kai, a huge question mark was over his position and what role he could bring to this Arsenal team, and how would he actually improve us, being that he looked so inconsistent and dodgy at Chelsea. Well, it was first thought that Kai would fill that Xhaka role from last year, playing that box-to-box 8 role, playing both defense and helping the team offensively. But in our first game of the season, he was the sole number 9 in the Community Shield against Man City, a game where he performed pretty okay. He wasn't great, but he looked pretty decent, and you could see a role for him at the number 9 position. But as the Premier League rolled around, well, he would play the Xhaka role, and in the beginning, a risky signing, everyone was so quick to jump on his back about how lackluster his performances had been. Even when he scored his first goal, that being a penalty against Bournemouth, it was met with not all that much enthusiasm. I mean, they were saying, oh, it was a gimme penalty, doesn't really matter, he still hasn't scored his first proper goal for Arsenal, and still looks like a horrible signing. I mean, to be fair, he did look like a player that was lost. He looked like a player that didn't understand his role. But the fact that Kai Havertz didn't necessarily have a set role and position because it seemed to change game in and game out towards the beginning of the season, now looking at him, maybe that was another key contributor to the reason that he was so inconsistent and he just didn't have any confidence. But now looking at him, his versatility only adds to the importance of this team. At first, his versatility was kind of a problem, being that we couldn't find a role for him, but now it's kind of an add-on to his game. For me right now, I still think his best position for Arsenal is when he plays that sole number 9 role as a striker. Even though he's not your clinical 20 goals a game striker, even though he has scored 13 in the Premier League, I still think his best position is that striker role, is that number 9 role. And even in games when he doesn't score in that position, his impact is phenomenal there. Be it fighting for every ball in the air with centre-backs, making runs to pull centre-backs out of position, dropping deep to bring centre-backs out of position and open space. Kai Havertz's impact at the number 9 role is immense. Kai Havertz is a little less impactful in the midfield in my opinion, but overall, particularly in 2024, Kai Havertz has been nothing short of fantastic. I just think in the midfield he goes a little more unnoticed, he doesn't get the ball as much, whereas as a striker we can play the ball to his feet, his hold-up play is really good, he has good link-up play. I mean, look at the assist to Saka in the North London derby. I just prefer Kai Havertz, and I'm sure most of you prefer Kai Havertz as a striker. Going off of the eye test alone, right? If you're not watching Kai Havertz closely, sometimes it's quite easy to forget the importance that he has, and maybe to you he might go missing at times. But then also at the same time off the eye test, I think it's very fair to say that it's really easy when you focus on him or when you watch him more closely, it's really easy to see not only how hard he works, fighting for quite literally, and I mean this in every sense of the word, literally every single loose ball in his area and every single aerial battle he can, but also how constantly he is pressing with Martin Odegaard at the front, constantly making runs. It's very, and I mean very rare that you see Kai Havertz doing nothing, whether we're on the ball or off it. If you don't believe me, the next Arsenal game, just watch Kai Havertz. If he isn't making runs, if he isn't putting centre-backs out of position, if he isn't fighting for every single loose ball, then I don't know what to tell you. I promise you, Kai Havertz seems like every single minute of every single game, he is fighting for something, he is running, he is doing something. A perfect game I want to talk about is the game against Man City where we drew 0-0. On paper, Kai Havertz didn't really do anything, but watch that game again. Every single ball, Kai Havertz was pressing so hard for it. He He was trying to fight his heart out for it. Even at times you knew he wouldn't get the ball, he'd still fight for it and put pressure on the defense. And then on the ball, Kai Havertz brings so much to us. I mean, he is so useful in set pieces. He's so useful in our build-up play. Heck, even in our finishing department, especially in 2024, he's looked pretty good. And as for the number side of things, if you aren't impressed on the eye test, I mean, Kai Havertz has been phenomenal again, scoring 13 goals and getting 6 assists in 48 games so far this season. And for context, in his 3, he scored just 32 goals and got 13 assists in 139 games at Chelsea. So in triple the amount of minutes and triple the amount of game time, 139 games for Chelsea, he's only got 7 more assists than he has already for Arsenal. This has had such an improvement this season. Havertz has exploded this season and is no doubt one of our most crucial players. And with all the praise to Havertz, Arteta and Edu also need some praise. Edu got Havertz when no one wanted him, but Arteta has done something that he doesn't get nearly enough praise for, but Arteta's development of the squad, and in this case Kai Havertz, shows just how good of a coach Mikel is. Arteta has turned a once-away Chelsea player who couldn't score to save his life, seemed clumsy on the ball, looked lost, looked like he didn't have a position or a role, into a versatile and at times clinical player for a team competing for the title. Arteta has helped turn Kai Havertz into a consistent player, which is something that Kai had struggled with at Chelsea and even in his first couple months at Arsenal, was consistency. Kai seemed to have a really good game and then followed up with a couple of stinkers. But since about December, I think, Kai seems to perform in just about every and any game. He puts in consistent performances game in and game out. Kai has become a crucial player to this Arsenal team, but with his best position being that number 9 striker role, does that mean that Kai will be our striker for the future? Or will Arsenal kind of pursue a striker in the summer? And if we do get a striker in the summer, well then where does that leave Kai Havertz? Well, that is a discussion for another video. But the rise of Kai Havertz is just absolutely insane. And I'm pretty confident in saying that essentially no Arsenal fan, or just football fan in general, expected Kai Havertz to be the player he is today in just under 1 season at the club.